Yeah, okay. So, as part of the program, we are used to take few minutes to understand bit of what we do. So for that, I have received a topic, and the topic I have received is um, the first part of the topic was um, to mental stamina, and the second part is uh, how to recognize, how to identify the progress in the path. So first part of the topic we have already discussed, which is uh, mental stamina, and we have discussed what is uh, mentality, why mental process is so important, etc. Now today we are going to take the $1,000,000 question, which is identifying the progress in the path. Before going any further on the topic, I would like to mention that we take a topic and discuss, not just because we want to do that, not I want to do it or some of you want to do it. It is because the Blessed One has very clearly mentioned anyone who is practicing must have certain supportive factors. One such supportive factor is listening, right? They call it listening supportive factor. And the other supportive factor is the discussion supportive factor. So those are just two supportive factors. And in addition to that, there are three other supportive factors. One is the morality supportive factor, and the other is concentration supportive factor, and the last one is the wisdom supportive factor or insight supportive factor. So I'm not going to discuss about morality so much because you have heard it ever since you have involved with Dhamma. Everyone says, don't do that, don't do this. So, and in addition to that, you are living a moral life. And if you go one more step further, in this 1 hour of walking and sitting, you have 100% observed the precepts. So moral supportive factor during this period is already provided, right? But there's a lot more to discuss in that. I'm not going to talk about that at this stage. So to do this, the other two factors, which is insight supportive factor and concentration supportive factor, those two supportive factors we have tried to the best of our ability in the last 1 hour. How much we can concentrate, it is not our aim. Our aim is mindfulness. And by being mindful, you develop certain concentration. And developing such concentration is a supportive factor. We have done that to the best of our ability in the last 1 hour. And similarly, insight, depending on your ability, you have done insight supportive factor as well. Now, we are taking this time for the listening and the discussion supportive factor. So the topic I mentioned at the beginning, which is identifying the progress in the path, is therefore for the listening supportive factor. So if I take this question now, this question we can keep discussing so long as we live, because the question is so important and it has such a huge depth, right? But I'm not, and in addition to that, we can discuss this question in plenty of different ways. So I'm not going to go into extreme great detail of identifying the progress in the path, but I'm going to take some relevant aspects of this question. And first thing I would like to talk about the question or the topic is, why is someone asking this question, right? The reason or the basis of the question is most important, right? Because when we do something, when we say something, and by doing or by saying, you are simply representing your mind, right? So this is the way the mind is represented. So this question itself is mind representation. That itself is part of the progress, right? So therefore, I assume that all of you can relate to this question, right? So having said that, we all have an understanding that because of our upbringing, we think that when we pass grade 1, we can go to grade 2, right? So we have done things in succession. So therefore, because of that upbringing, because of that habit, because of that mental framework we have, we think even in the mindfulness path, even in the path of Dhamma, we have such things. We can go to grade 1, and from grade 1 to grade 2, grade 2 to grade 3, like that you can go on. So because of that mental factor or mental framework only, we are asking this question. And another reason that we have is that is also another representation of the mind, the manifestation of the mind through the question, which is our expectation. We never do anything without any expectation. We have some expectation all the time, right? Without any expectation, no one is doing anything. I remember Bhatta Dhammajiva used to say, you all must have heard of Visakha. Visakha has been the chief benefactress of the Buddha, lay benefactress of the Buddha. And the female benefactors, and I say benefactress, there is no need to female as well. Anyway, she has done a survey during Buddha's time, when she has seen a lot of girls are coming to see Buddha and listening to his talks and practicing meditation, and some people comes on the Poya days and observe precepts and things like that. So on a precept day, she has asked some of the girls, why you observe precepts, right? So one has said, I observe precepts with the expectation that I will be able to get married when I'm 17. And then the other girl has said, I'm observing precepts assuming my husband will be so faithful to me. And then another girl has said a similar thing, right? So then she collected these details and went and spoke to Buddha, and Buddha said, this is how the people are, this is what people use mindfulness or the Dhamma for. So because of that reason, even we have that mentality, even we have that expectation. Because of that expectation, we presume by practicing mindfulness, we can get something. Because of that expectation mentality, we are asking this question. We want to yield something. We want to achieve something. We want to win something. We want to gain something, right? So we think by practicing mindfulness, we will go to such a blissful state, and I will be able to levitate. I will be able to read so and so's mind, and I'll be such a magician. So that expectation is there, whether we like it or not, right? So when we talk to people, we can see that it is not a wrong thing, but it is habit of the mind, and because of that habit of the mind, this question is coming forward. And the other thing, other reason or the basis of this question is, we all know, and it is very very famous slogan that knowledge is power, right? So if people think, because of, once again, our upbringing, we know when we know certain things and we can become the king of that, and if we know that, and I will be able to do better than the other person. I will be able to use my skill, my ability, my money, the latest technology, and I'll be able to do it the best way possible. So because of that mentality, that knowledge is power, we think, okay, if I know how the progress in the path is happening, I will be able to go before anybody else, right? So because of those mental contaminations, mental corruptions, this question is coming forward. So I'm not blaming the question. I'm not blaming the person who asked the question. I'm simply bringing out the mental factors attributed to the question, right? So having such a question or giving such a question to discuss is very important, because we are going on the path of purification. On the path of purification, what we will have to do is, we will have to take the garbage that we have in our mind. So this is one way that our garbage is coming out. So the question itself, therefore, is a part of the progress in the path, progress in the purification. So we are going for purification. So when you put these type of questions, then I'll be saying these are the reasons for the question. And person who asks, he will be able to relate to it. And if he will take it in the right spirit. He take it in the right spirit, so he will get more and more purified. Yet I had these mental qualities when I was asking it, and it is not right. But I know now. But initially, I was thinking on the same basis I have been taught and brought up all this time. But in the past, it is not so, right? So therefore, it's a very good question, and everyone can possibly relate to it. And then the question arises, does that mean that there is no successive progression in this? Or that we can't have any goal, or we can't achieve anything, or whether we don't gain anything is another question. Because if we can't have an expectation, and if we can't get any knowledge, and if we don't achieve anything, what are we doing? Is another question. So it is not that we don't gain anything. It's not that there is no target. It's not that there is no knowledge behind it. All what we try to do is, there is, but all what we try to do here is to go from what we know, go from where we are, go from here now I am, to something called purification. So how does this purification happen is very important. And in the process of being purified, there are lots and lots of things that are happening. And those things that are happening are purifying your physical process on one hand, and on the other hand, it is purifying your mental process. So therefore, when these two processes are being purified, you will have certain experiences. And those experiences are simply the progress in the path. And it may be very, very simple, or it may be things that you have never experienced. Sorry about that. It may be things that you have never experienced in using your physical, normal, sensual faculties, right? It may be completely something that you never expected. So then the question arises: so if there are such experiences that we have never experienced, why don't you tell? Why can't you tell? So the reason for that is, when we walk in the path, there are certain certain experiences that you gain while purifying your physical process and mental process. Those experiences have not been spelled out as it is um, in the scripts, right? So because of that reason, I have heard a lot of people are criticizing the Blessed One, saying that he has not exactly mentioned what happens when someone achieves the highest goal, which is Nibbana. So the people, he has said, it is like, extinguishing of a lamp, right? And he says it is like you will go to the stanza that they are using is etang santang etang panitang, that is so pleasant and so delightful. Etang santang etang panitang yadidang sabba sankara samato, which is eradication of all the volitions, eradication of all the mental volitions, and eradication of all the depreciation of all the craving, right? And when we say these things, is there an experience? How do we know that our mental volitions are over? How do we know that our craving is over? It is not very clear, and therefore, a lot of people criticize that Buddha has not exactly told what happens, right? There is a reason for it. So why he exactly doesn't tell those things is because if we say that this is the physical experience that you will be having, if he says that this is the mental experience that you will be having, people will be conditioned to those things. So if people get conditions to those things, what happens is practitioners will not be able to identify whether they have conditioned their mind to achieve those things or whether they have actually followed the path of purification. And as a result of following the path, as a result of being purified, whether they achieve this so-called experience. So therefore, he has said, you will depreciate all your craving. He said, you will eradicate all your mental volition. But those words, experiences of those words are completely far away from the meaning of the words that you have. Physical experience is completely different. Because all what the Blessed One has said, Blessed One says in the stanza that we use to worship Dhamma, this is something experiential, this is something that can be experienced by the wise as his or her own first-hand experience. So there is nothing imaginary here, nothing, no assumptions here. It is something that you can experience. So therefore, although it can be experienced, Blessed One has used the most appropriate words to explain the experience, but never mention what the experience is, just to avoid the confusion of being conditioned to the experience. So having said that, since I mentioned that this is part of purification, this is how you will be gradually being purified by following the path. The question is, who will know that someone is being purified? When you go, when you progress in the path, when you follow the path, most of the time, the person who is following the path does not know he has been purified or he is getting purified. Only the teacher knows, right? After some time, after discussion with the teacher, after listening to the talk, then student may be able to gradually understand, even after achieving, after some time only he will be able to understand, oh, this is what has happened to me. So therefore, it is very important in this practice to have a noble friend. Noble friend means a person who has practiced a bit more than you. So he will be able to give you a hand. He will be pointing his finger behind so that you will be able to hold his finger and walk on the path. So therefore, the Blessed One has said once to Venerable Ananda, Venerable Ananda has told the Blessed One, dear Lord, I think 50% of this path is in the hand of the noble friend. Then the Blessed One has said, don't say that, Ananda, don't say that. 100% the path is in the hand of the noble friend, because the follower, the practitioner, does not know what is happening. Only thing he knows is what he knows, which is the breath or the walking. Using that, noble friend is laying the carpet to the place where he wants to go based on the student's experience. So therefore, the Blessed One says, 100% is in the hand of the Blessed One. Is in the noble friend. So he's telling to his chief attendant. So it has been so for none of us here has received this supreme Dhamma on our own. We haven't done it on our own. Someone has told us and someone has helped us. Then only we will be able to go on the path. So therefore, we must have a noble friend, and just having a noble friend won't do. They should have a discussion with him. This is what I am doing. This is what I observe. And this is what I feel about my observation. Those are the only three things that you will have to talk with the noble friend. When I am walking, this is what I am observing in my walking. When I observe that particular thing, these are the experiences I am having. These things are happening, right? And because of these things, I have this question, or because of these things, I have this doubt. Because of these things, I want to ask you this: why it is happening? So, in that manner, what simply happens is, you are bringing your garbage out. You are bringing your defilements out. You are bringing the contaminations that you have in your mentality out. Right. So, having said that, when you talk about your experience, there are three types of experiences. The three types of experiences are, you will have bad, unpleasant, disagreeable experiences, right? On one hand. And on the other, they will have experiences so good, so marvelous, very, very acceptable experiences. And they will have experiences, I don't care, dull experiences, very sleepy experiences, lethargic experiences. So these are the three types of experiences you may have, right? So the Blessed One says, all these experiences, not the bad ones, not the good ones, not the dull ones, or the neutral ones, all these experiences are progress in the path. And it simply explains your characteristic, your personal trait, your personality, your personal character, because the path is so unique. It is different from one person to one person to the other, right? And for the same person, it is differing. It may differ from 1 hour to the next hour, because we keep changing. Physically we are changing, mentally we are changing. The question that we asked yesterday is not relevant anymore today. Today I'm asking question which is completely opposite to what I asked the other day. Right? So that is because we are progressing, our mentality is coming out. So what actually happens is, especially most of the time, when you have good experiences, that is very dangerous. If you have the agreeable, very blissful experiences, that is very dangerous. The reason is, I'm not saying, I'm saying it is dangerous because when you have those things, no one is speaking about them. You just get hooked onto it. Oh, this is what I want, and you will just dwell in it. But if you have a very tiny bit of a bad experience, then you will explode. And that will become a huge thing to talk, right? So bad experiences, when you have, is the best part, right? Although good experiences are dangerous, in a way we can handle them. But bad experiences are the best ones, right? And why I say bad experiences are the best one, when you say an experience as bad experience, say for example, your leg is paining, right? That simply highlights your attitude. That simply highlights your mentality towards the pain. So therefore, it is very easy to discuss. And also, it gives an idea that you are moving forward, right? So therefore, bad experiences are the best ones. And dull experiences, if you have, they are the experiences that really getting you closer, more and more closer to achievements. When you say dull, it simply means there is nothing for you to hold on. There is no grudge, there is no annoyance, there is no irritation, there is no craving, there is no delight. It's very dull, very boring. When you say boring, when you say dull, what you are simply saying is you don't have craving and you don't have hatred. If you have hatred, then you will be fired up, and maybe you can boil some oil, keeping a pan on your body. So much heated, right? But if you have a craving, you don't want anything else. You open your eyes and you open your mouth and you open everything and keep on looking at it. Not dull. But no craving, no hatred. It is so dull. That is when you are closer and closer to achievements, right? I'm not saying when you feel dull, you are straight away achieving something. But that's a very good sign that you are going in the right path. So those are the three basic types of experiences. So if you take, I would like to take some examples of some bad experiences. And when I was in Nissarana Vanaya, I don't know how long I have taken. Yeah, I think 7:45. That's all right. I'll take a few more minutes. When I was in Nissarana Vanaya sometime back, 3 or 4 years ago, there was a boy who was in my room, and he comes and tells me, so, I mean, he did not tell anything, and I was there for about a month, and he was there for about 5 days, and every day he comes to the room and sits on the bed and put his head in his hands and put his head down, and he just keep thinking all the time. So after about 5 days, I asked him whether he's okay. He said, no. I asked what happened. No, I can't meditate. I'm trying my level best to observe my breathing, and I never able to observe my breathing. Then I asked, what happens? Then he said, no, I keep getting thoughts, continuous thoughts are coming up. I don't know what to do. My head is going to blow up and I'm going home tomorrow. I said, it is not right for me to give advices here when Bhante is here. But still, since I have asked you, since you have told me, I will tell you, it is very good if you can observe the breath, and it is the best thing that is possible. But in this situation, you have tried for 5 days and you don't observe, right? So mindfulness is here now I am. So you have thoughts, you observe your thoughts, right? But when you present it to Bhante, tell Bhante, you have tried to observe breath for 5 days and was not possible, and only thoughts are coming. So I started observing thoughts and it has worked for him. And I told him also, don't tell I told, right? Because it is not nice. Then it has worked for him, and then he went and told Bhante, and Bhante said, okay, if you have tried for 5 days and then you have identified what your character trait is, right, and you have acted accordingly, that's the way we should go. So see, in that example, by trying to observe one thing, by trying to observe the breath, right, for such a long time, for 5 days, he has not been able. Then he clearly identified his character trait. And after identifying the character trait, he did not identify it, he was messed up. And he had someone to talk to. And that someone was able to tell him, without telling that it is your character trait, do this. Then he was able to do it. So, and what we usually think is, when such a thing is happening, oh, this is not my meditation, I should go to some other meditation place, I should go to some other place, and you keep changing. No. You simply talk to your noble friend. He will be able to guide you properly, but you see that experience. It is progress in the path. It is a way that his mind has come out. It is the way he has identified his personality. So therefore, but the practitioner thinks it's a bad thing. So that is why he was so worried about the experience. And similar thing happened when I went to, when I was going those days to Melbourne. There was someone, once again, he was not able to observe the breath. Then I asked him to observe the body posture. You just sit. If you don't feel the breath, so you can't observe the breath, you observe the body posture. So what he did was, he was observing the contact points of his bottom. So when he was observing, he says, after some time, he started gradually feeling the breath. Right? So when he was explaining that as a huge complaint and huge frustration that his mindfulness is not going forward. Because people think mindfulness means having an object which the teacher says. No, teacher is giving the object just for him to identify where you are going. For the teacher to identify where you are going, and to teacher to identify what your character trait is, you should talk, you should tell. And if you don't talk, if you don't tell, it is very hard. Now, these things are happening at the very beginning. And when people are advancing, they will have cases, and we have plenty of examples, and I have noted few examples. One is this was a situation that we had even in last Satipasala. A couple of children said, after observing the breath, they can observe the breath, there is no problem. They have had some issues initially observing the breath, but now they are able to observe the breath. After observing the breath, after some time, the breath disappears and they fall asleep. And it was a huge complaint. And my meditation is not going well and I'm falling asleep now. Right? And they don't know that it is a progress in the path. Falling asleep, nobody tells, and no practitioner will agree that it is a progress in the path. Why it is a progress in the path is because they have been, not just because you fall asleep. When you say you fall asleep, we ask whether you are able to observe the breath. Then they said, yes, I was able to observe the breath. Then how did you observe the breath? Did you observe your in-breath? Did you observe your out-breath? Yes, I did. And how did you know that it is in breath and not out breath? Then they say, okay, this is what was happening. When I was breathing in, I was able to observe that my tummy is rising. And when I'm breathing out, I observed my tummy is going down. And I was able to do that for some time. And when time passed, that observation, tummy rise and tummy deflating tummy, could not be identified, and it was more or less the same. But once it becomes so unperceivable, and I lost my breath, and there was breathing was not perceivable, and even the tummy was not moving. And after that, after some time, I felt like I was sleeping for some time. So which very clearly says he has taken an object and he has been with the object. He has observed the object continuously, and he has not been craving for the object he had. He has not been fighting with the object he had. Because he did not crave for the object, because he did not fight for the object, he depreciated his craving so far as the object is concerned. He eradicated the hatred towards the object, or for anything else outside the object. So because those things were reduced, controlled, managed, and depreciated, you don't have anything to do now other than falling asleep. Mind reads that situation as a time to sleep. That is what happens. So that is a complaint by the student, but the teacher knows he's in the right track. So like that, there are lots and lots of examples I have noted, but there is no time for me to talk all that. If you want, we can take those things and discuss next time, but there is no need to hurry to talk about all these experiences, because if we have discussions, if we have talks in this session in the future, all that is about the progress in the path, right? So these examples I will be giving numerous times in the talks or in the future, right? So therefore, not that you are losing anything. I'll be giving more and more examples of experiences that you can consider as bad, but which are really good ones. And similarly, the good experiences you will have, and similarly, they will have dull experiences. All these are progress in the path. They are nothing but identification of your personality. That is all what the experience says, nothing else. There is no good experience, there is no bad experience. All experiences are experience, which is part of the path. So the only advice is you will have to practice continuously. And when you practice continuously, don't throw any information that you gather away. Most of the time we think this is not so important to tell. So there is nothing for me to tell. There is nothing as such, right? You will have to gather as much information as possible and talk about it and discuss about it. And also the other important thing is anything that is happening is a part of the purification. Because what we have done is, especially when you talk about the bad experiences, what we have done is we have opened up the septic tank. When you open up the septic tank, it starts stinking. That is why you think you talk whenever there is a bad experience. So whenever you say a bad experience, the teacher knows, okay, septic tank is open, now he's cleaning it up. Very good, right? So therefore, any bad experience, don't worry, be happy when you have a bad experience, understanding that it is going forward. So discussion is very important, and continuous practice is again very important thing on a daily basis. Depending on your timetables, on daily basis, keep up your practice. Allocate equal time for walking, allocate equal time for sitting. And it is ideal if you can do at least 1 hour walking and 1 hour sitting, but I know some of you are very busy. So whatever time that is possible, maybe 15 minutes. If you have only that, go for it. Do it on a daily basis. That is the key to to open up the septic tank, to purify, and to progress in the path. So hope you will be able to take these advices on board and consider anything that is happening in practice as progress in the path, and then continue the practice. So thank you very much for listening about how to take the garbage out as much as possible. And then that's our listening supportive factor. We can get on to the discussion supportive factor from here on. So if you have anything to discuss, so I open the floor for you. So we have about 15-16 minutes. Don't worry about the time. If you have time, I have time. So over to you. If you have any question regarding the talk, please feel free to ask. Chatupata, was the instruction okay?
Yeah, I think it worked.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Nilu Kanangi.
Yeah. Just a quick question. What if the nose is blocked? Sort of, there's an issue with my daughter. Like, she has a blocked nose continuously.
Yeah.
So how would you sort of do the sitting? Then?
Is it a regular thing, or is it just because of winter, or
No, it is quite regular actually. I think she has allergies, but it's not clearing. It is pretty regular.
Yeah. That doesn't matter. Even with the blocked nose, she's breathing.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, she was asking whether to breathe from her mouth.
No, that is very good. Asking that question. We must not breathe from the mouth. And I will tell you one thing. If you keep on practicing, and this practice itself will clear this nose problem.
Okay.
So it may be difficult for you to perceive, but you can use this situation to become more vigilant about the breath, right? And the other thing is, it gives me the impression that she is trying to focus the nostril, right?
Yeah.
So to observe your in-breath and out-breath respiration, it is not necessary to, it is not compulsory for you to observe at the entrance of the nostril. And if tummy is prominent, you can use tummy. If the chest is prominent, you can use chest, right?
Yeah.
So if the nose is the prominent thing, is especially because she's having blocked nose, she can observe that, and that's I would say that it is a very conducive condition to bring attention to. So it may not be very gross.
Yeah.
But the conditions are so good to have the attention. And what she has to do is just have the attention, not breathe in and breathe out. Just have the attention and see what happens.
Attention in her nose, or the breathing process, or?
No, attention. Now, the first thing is she observing nostril, or is that the place she has selected?
Yes.
Yeah. Then she will have to just maintain the attention to the nostril and just wait, just observe what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
At that point.
At that point.
Okay.
Right, and then she can tell me what happens. I'm not looking for an observation where she is able to perceive in breath and out breath.
Yeah.
Looking for some observation.
Okay.
In breath and out breath, or it may be something else.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, but she has to start there, have the attention to that place because that is what is possible and that is what is conducive for her, and then we will take from there.
Okay.
So it is a qualification, not a disqualification.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Teruvan sir.
Teruvan.
And did she understand that?
Yeah, she's listening. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question, Uncle.
Yes, sir.
Or maybe a series of questions. So the first one is, when you're practicing mindfulness, is it okay to abandon things that you may have done prior to doing mindfulness? Or like, I guess maybe the question could be, how do you know like the right thing to abandon, and how do you know what's just your ego? Do you want me to give an example?
Yeah, it is a general question.
Yeah, okay. I'll give an example.
Yeah.
So I used to drink alcohol, not like I wasn't like a drunkard or anything, but I used to drink alcohol. And then when I started doing mindfulness, I was still drinking. And then what I did was I did want to stop drinking. So instead of stopping, because I knew that wouldn't work and it's not really the right method. The advice was to do it, if you're going to drink, do it mindfully. So I did it, and I did that for a period of time. And then and I could do that process quite mindfully. There was a turning point where something happened and I was like, here I am purifying my mind by doing mindfulness and poisoning my body by drinking alcohol. And then I was like, I have to pick one or the other. So I said, oh, well, I'll choose mindfulness, and I stopped drinking. And I even tested it a little while ago. I had a drink just to see what was happening. And it was fine. There was no problem. And I didn't go back to drinking or anything like that. So that'll be my example of things to abandon.
Yeah. So do you consider that as a good thing or bad thing?
I don't even know now. I have a second question which has sort of popped up, but otherwise I didn't actually care whether I was drinking or not.
Yeah.
It was never a thought that came afterwards, after I abandoned it. It wasn't like, oh, this is great that I don't drink, or, it didn't feel like that, to be honest.
Yeah. And is the second question relating to this or something else?
I'll hear your answer first, then I'll put the second question.
Yeah. So, yeah. Bhante Dhammajiva says, you may have heard that he has been smoking. And one day he has stopped smoking and gone and told his teacher, Venerable Dhammika, that he stopped smoking. Then Bhante Dhammika has said, you are a fool. You go and keep smoking and do it mindfully. And if you by force stop, nothing will work, right? You will have to stop it only when you realize it yourself, right? So just if you force ourselves to do something, it doesn't work. That does not give a license for you to keep on drinking or keep on smoking or keep on having drugs. I have had few kids who were taking drugs, and then they have all the arguments for drugs. So I said, okay, go ahead, no problem, but do it mindfully. And these are the steps to do it mindfully, because not that I have been taking drugs, but I have read and I knew, and since I have been in the society, I know how it is happening. So I give them the steps and keep labeling all the steps and take drugs. And after a few months, all the guys meditating. I asked what happened. No, we started taking drugs mindfully. Then the kick of it is going off. There is no kick from taking drugs. So they have stopped it. And then they started meditation. And they said, meditation is also giving the same kick. So there is no need for us to spend money. So we keep meditating. And they are meditating even now. So, the other thing is, Blessed One has said, when he was presenting the great discourse of 4 foundations of mindfulness, he says this 4 foundations of mindfulness is for the purification of beings. When you say beings, it includes all the people and any animal, any living being who is able to understand and practice. So he's not saying, okay, these are only for those who are purified and those who don't take alcohol, those who don't kill, those who not behaving in sexual misconduct. No, he says all the beings, all the beings. So what he does is, he takes everybody and introduces mindfulness. And then he says, if you are mindful, I'm guaranteeing that you will be purified. That is what happened to you. And that is what you tested after happening to you. You said even after stopping and you took once and see whether it is something that you lose, that you have lost. No, it has not happened. So, and the Blessed One has very clearly mentioned in the mind, what's that discourse? Discourse on mindfulness. Yeah, discourse on mindfulness in numerical order. Numerical, I don't know what's the term for it. In Sutta Pitaka, there is Anguttara Nikaya, right? I don't remember the English term of it. Numerical discourses. The numerical discourses in the 8th group section, there is, I think, the last or the first discourse, mindfulness discourse. And it says, if someone is not mindful, that person is not having moral shame and moral fear. And if someone is not having moral shame and moral fear, that person will not be observing precepts. Right. So in other words, in the same sutta, on the other hand, they say, if someone is mindful, he will be having moral fear and moral shame and moral fear. If he is having moral shame and moral fear, he will be observing precepts. That is exactly what is happening. So don't worry the bad things you are doing. Keep on doing the bad thing you are doing, but do it mindfully. That is not to give a license to do bad things. But Blessed One has guaranteed that mindfulness purifies us. That is the first thing he says. Before introducing the 4 foundations, he says, the one and only way for the purification of beings. So I have experienced it. You have experienced it. Bhante has experienced it. Buddha has very clearly mentioned. So, did I answer you?
Thank you, Uncle. I have a follow-up question. It's about a topic that no one really talks about. And I don't really want to generally talk about it, but I do need to ask. And I hope people don't get offended. So I guess that's sort of the first question is there a limit to what you can abandon? And I'll give an example. So when I started, so I abandoned alcohol, we could say. But at the same time, I was also trying to abandon sensual desire. So I don't actually know why I did it. I think probably at the start, I felt that it was blocking my path or progress. But later on, I probably the reason why I did it was because I found that I actually hate sensual desire. So what I did was I did the same method as alcohol, which is I couldn't stop it with brute force or concentration. So I kept doing it. And I did it mindfully. And I could do, if I want to indulge in sensual desire, I can do it. And I can do it completely mindfully. And it's, I get no feeling out of it. Like, it's not like, it's not doing it. There's actually no point to doing it, but I'm still doing it, if that makes sense. And so last year, I was at Mithrigala, I was in the retreat, and I was sitting down. And this happened before where you've applied concentration restraint, and the shadows of that sensual desire comes to fight you, because that's what you've done. You've applied some sort of restraint, and it's coming to get you. And when that was happening, I was like, well, the rubbish is coming out, and the only person to blame is me, because I put the rubbish in by entertaining it. And I actually got really scared. So what I did was, when I came back, I didn't entertain sensual desire. Essentially, I was celibate for probably about nearly a year, completely celibate. And I thought, okay, it's not a problem anymore for me. I'll just test it out to see if it's actually been abandoned. So I tested it. And basically what happens is I spiral back into my old sort of ways and methods. And I was like, oh, well, it hadn't been abandoned. And so my question is really, what do I do? Or I'm not sure if it's just ego, or I don't actually know what I should be doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, these are the things we just mentioned a little while ago. This is how our garbage is coming out, and why this lust feelings are coming out is because you're observing the last precept, or not last precept, the third precept, 100%. You don't do it at all, right? In fact, not the third precept, you live a celibate life. When you live a celibate life, and these things are happening at 3 layers. 3 layers are mental layer, the verbal layer, and the physical layer. So the last 2 layers, the physical layer and the verbal layer, is not taking place. But the mental layer is still there. So when the mental layer is active, these things you can see very clearly. But outsiders, nobody knows. Right? So when you see those things and you complain yourself that this is something that I don't do, so I think I have already abandoned them, but this damn thing is still there with me and it is bothering me. Right? So it has 2 sides. It is bothering you because you have already abandoned, eradicated the physical and verbal part. So to that extent, you should be happy. You have opened up the septic tank. Now the garbage has been there for generations. Garbage has been there for eons. So that garbage has to come out. So let it come out. In mindfulness, there is nothing called abandonment. Mindfulness does not abandon anything. Whatever is there, in 4 Foundations of Mindfulness Sutta, the Blessed One mentions in 2 places. One is in mindfulness on the mind, right? When these lustful feelings are coming, you become aware that you have lustful feelings. That's it. When you have such feelings, when you have such thoughts, if you try to abandon it, which means you have a hatred towards those feelings, those thoughts. So you try to avoid lust, and establish hatred. Blessed One is not accepting either of that. He simply says, it is coming. Are you aware? Is the question. So when it is coming, you should be happy. Number one, that I have already done two things, physical and verbal gone. Number two is because now it is coming, because I am following the path, it is coming, because I am following the path, I can see it. So if you can be happy for the fact that you see it, that is establishment of mindfulness, not establishment of hatred. Right? So there is no question of eradication, there is no question of termination, there is no question of abandonment in mindfulness. Bring anything out, I will be observing. That has to be the attitude. So unless you honestly talk these things, you will never be purified. So this is why we have a discussion forum. This is the path of the progress. So this is why I said when I was talking about the path of the progress in the path, I'm sorry, progress in the path. Ever since we will have this in the future, we will be discussing only progress in the path. And the progress in the path is very sour, is very bitter, is very bad, is a complaint. Unless someone is there to tell, no, it's not a complaint, it's a compliment. Just be aware. That's the word the Blessed One has used for mindfulness right through. At least 95% of the words used in the four foundations of mindfulness is pajanati, pajanati, pajanati. Means be aware, be aware, be aware. Nothing to eradicate, nothing to accept. It will, if it is there, it is coming. You just be aware. So did I give you an answer?
Thank you, Uncle. On that, I'll come and ask. I have to go practice and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, don't expect it will go over. It will be over soon. But this itself, the presentation itself and putting it out itself is a big thing, and that itself is a way of purification. Now you know what to do, and more you take out, the more stinkier things will be coming, because you are going now into the lower layers of the mind, right? So let it come, and this is all what we have in our mind. In our mind, we don't have anything good. It is not your mind. It is the mind of all the humanity. It is the mind of everyone who is not talking as well. We all are like that. We all are like that. They will have, you'll have to be brave enough to say that. And Blessed One says, just be aware. Good. Teruvan Saranai.
Thank you, Uncle.
Teruvan Saranai. Anybody else? Anyone is having any question? Can take. All right. Can I assume that there are no questions? Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, before we conclude the session, I just would like to mention the next session will be on the, is it today's first, on the 15th August. which is Sunday. So just make a note of that. And the number 2, I think we have been discussing a sutta earlier before receiving this particular question. I'm not going to continue that sutta because it's a fairly an advanced sutta. So is it okay, Chatu?
Yeah, this topic is better anyway. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm not going to discuss this topic as well. I'm going to give a good understanding of 4 foundations of mindfulness. I'm not going into lengthy discussions as I'm doing in singular sessions, but I'm going to I want to give a good understanding of 4 foundations of mindfulness, because what we do is mindfulness. So everyone should have a good understanding of mindfulness. And if you have a good understanding of mindfulness, then we can discuss any other sutta, right? So I think we will take few sessions. It will not be just one session. It will take few sessions. We will discuss 4 foundations of mindfulness and have a good grip of what we do. And then see after that what other topics we can take. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining the session, and wish to see you on the 15th. So, Teruvan Saranai, everybody.
Teruvan Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai, Teruvan Saranai, Malindi.
Teruvan Saranai, Uncle.
Teruvan Saranai, Pita.
It's okay.